Did you think Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were awful? Well, if you did, then you would be in the majority. Hailed for being a terrible game and being worse than its predecessor made over a decade prior, these games filled with minimal improvements and boundless glitches can be seen as Pokemon's biggest failure. Until we got Pokemon Luminescent Platinum, the fan-made mod that attempts to fix these remakes, adding in a variety of features and modifying story elements while also making the game notably more difficult. As usual, I plan on playing with hardcore Nuzlocke rules. For those who don't know, they are on screen right now. Can I beat this game despite the insane difficulty increase? Well, let's find out. Our journey kicks off like any other. We pick up our starter Wukong the Chimchar from Professor Rowan, and soon after stumble upon our first new feature, the incense burner at Lake Verity, gifted to us by the small green hedgehog shaman. This nifty mechanic lets us find regional forms on various routes. This will give us access to some potentially very good encounters. Back at Professor Rowan's lab, we snag ourselves a Turtwig who I name Akupara. Then, after a quick chat with our mom, we get ourselves Eevee, called Nue. On the way to Jubilife City, we add a couple members in Kappa the Bidoof and Amarok the Growlithe, and once in Jubilife we meet the always suspicious Looker. Okay, do you see that NPC standing outside the trainer school? That is Ivy. She isn't important now, but will be useful later on, as she is the hyper trainer who can max out IVs in exchange for bottle caps. For our first rival battle, we hatch Undine the Azumarill, Bishop, Leviathan the Magikarp, and catch Raiju the Pikachu. With our new members, we head west to take on Barry. He leads with a Poochyena against Eevee, which is dealt with easily with a combination of cover and quick attack. This makes him bring in Smoochum, and after getting put to sleep, Nue must switch out for Amarok to take it down with 2 embers. This leaves just the Piplup, which is safely dealt with by a Razor Leaf from Turtwig. After bulking up the team with Asag the Cubone, Baliang the Zubat, and Bunyip the Whipper, plus evolving Undine into Marill, we arrive in Auberg City. There, a reporter challenges us to a battle, and after winning, gives us the option to pick between the 3 Hoenn starters, of which I choose Trico, naming him Linverm. After picking up a few more encounters in Bulgasari the Geodude in Auberg Mine, and Hercules the Martrop on Route 207. And with Wukong now a Monferno and Nue and Umbreon, we can face Roark. Every gym leader now has a full stacked team of 6 and 4 team variations, which makes prep an absolute nightmare. Roark leads with her Shuckle, meaning we are fighting team 2, which is neither good nor bad for us. I led with Undine as she is the most balanced lead, as I can put the Shuckle to sleep, and after putting it into the red HP, Roark switches out into Lileep on the Bubble Beam, activating Storm Drain. I decided to take the risk to put it to sleep with Sing, allowing Hercules to come in freely and take it out with a Guts boosted Brick Break. This causes the Lunatone to come in, but Umbreon counters it perfectly, taking it down with a few foul plays. Roark's Bonsly is next, which is very simple as Cubone puts it to sleep, letting Monferno put it down with a power-up punch. Following is the Anorith, which can knock out everything in 2 moves, so I make the decision to sacrifice Cubone to get Martrop in to take revenge with a Rock Tomb. The weakened Shuckle is then finished off by a power-up punch from Monferno, getting an attack boost in the process. This leaves just the Cranidos, and this is where I make a major mistake, as I go for power-up punch thinking I would outspeed, only to have Cranidos take Wukong down. At this point, Turtwig is our last healthy member, but 1 Bullet Seed is enough to finally beat the Cranidos and defeat Roark, getting us our first gym badge. From here, I won't be covering every encounter, just the notable ones, but the first gym completed, we can head back through Floroma Town and catch Siren the Chinchou, who has Water Absorb, which will be perfect for Crush Awake in the future. Undine evolves into an Azumarill with huge power, which is fire, and after giving Galactic Commander Mars a beating, we can move on to the Eterna Forest, where Cheryl jumps us, leading with a Drifloon, which is demolished by foul play from Nue. The following Makuhita deals heavy damage to Nue before Baliang murders it with a couple wing attacks, making her bring in a Whaler, which is walled by Siren, making for an easy takedown with Shockwave. This leaves just the Chansey, which is finished off by an Aqua Jet from Undine. I rushed through the forest to get Cheryl off my ass before getting my encounter, which is a Baneri named Freya. There are no cut trees in this game, so I am free to enter the old chateau, where I ran into a custom Gengar with a patched design who I named Banshee. This Gengar has no stat changes, Just a really cool design, so I took him with me. After gaining access to the Grand Underground, I collect the necessary evolution stones to evolve Amarok into Arcanine and Raiju into Alolan Raichu, before heading to the Eterna Gym where we find a change to the story as Gardenia has gone up north to Route 216. So we head on through Mount Coronet where we catch Mavka the Bronzor, and on Route 216 we pick up Jolin the Alolan Sandshrew. And after talking to Gardenia, she heads back to the gym, and on the way back, Balayang evolves all the way to a Crobat and Jolin becomes a Sandslash. Upon arriving back in Eterna City, it was finally time to take on Gardenia, and I'll be honest, the team she picks doesn't really matter as Balayang destroys most Pokemon that come in, much like the Resurrect she decides to lead with, which gets decimated by a single wing attack. Following scenes play out with the rest of the team switching between wing attacks and cross poison, which is now boosted to 90 base power, demolishing the remaining members, making for a very straightforward battle, besides for the Alolan Executor that kept spamming Dragon Tail until it was taken down, earning us our second gym badge. While storming the Team Galactic building in Eterna City, Bulgasari evolves into a Graveler and we then steamroll through Jupiter. After beating Jupiter, we run into Cynthia who gives us an egg which hatches into Anubis the Riolu. Along the way, we evolve Bunyip into Quagsire and Anubis into Lucario, then snag Dilong the Gabai in Wayward Cave. As we try to enter Mount Coronet from Route 207, we are stopped by Dawn demanding a fight, so a fight is what she would get, with her leading Piloswine getting crushed by 2 Metal Claws from Jolon, and with the Lopunny coming in, I use Balayang to wipe the bunny out with Dual Wing Beat and Cross Poison. The following Clefable takes massive damage from a Iron Head from Jolon before getting finished off by Anubis. This leaves just the Grottle that gets torched by Amarok's Flame Wheel and Extreme Speed. En route to Hearthome City, we pick up Aphrodite the Roselia, and in the gate leading to Hearthome, we are approached by Elite 4 member Aaron looking for a battle. He leads with his Ariados, which is sliced up by Dual Wing Beat from Balayang. The Mothim, after getting put to sleep with Hypnosis, suffers the same fate. The following Pinsir can land a hit before being put to sleep as well, before then succumbing to a combo of Dual Wing Beat and Cross Poison. For the incoming Scizor, we pivot through Bunyip, setting up a Yawn before bringing Amarok in to incinerate it with Flame Wheels. After setting up 2 Howls, the following Dustox also gets torched by a Flame Wheel, leaving just the Drapion, and after the attack boost goes down to a combo of Dig and Extreme Speed, ending the battle with Aaron. After talking to Fantina, I decided to explore the city and entered the Amity Park, where we find out that a Tinkertuff is causing a ruckus in the park, and after chasing it down, we can catch it and name it Valkyrie. After Freya evolves into a Lopunny, we are free to take on the 3rd gym leader, Fantina. Her lead Pokemon is Dusclops, and I led with Lopunny as I could get an easy fake out off as she has the ability Scrappy, but Fantina switches instantly into Gengar, which is hit by the fake out instead. I then switch to Nue to knock it out with 1 Crunch. Following up is the Drifblim, which kind of just spams Strength Sap and Stockpile until it ends up going down to a Crunch. Her next Pokemon Spiritomb, which it always uses Pain Slip, so I pretty much just get a free switch to Freya, who can put it down with 1 Jump Kick. The following Sableye has Prankster and a Lagging Tail, so it always goes for Trick first turn, so I brought Undine in so Freya wouldn't have the Lagging Tail, and then pummel it with a Play Rough, causing the Dusclops to return to the field. After putting it to sleep, I brought Banshee in to hit it with Shadow Ball, and the red card then forces him out and brings Freya in, who can knock it out with Headbutt. Last up is the Miss Magius, which is now a Ghost Fairy type, but I just switched to Banshee and other team members on Dazzling Gleams, and then back to Freya on the Shadow Balls, then hitting with a Fake Out. I repeat this until Balayang can enter the field to finish it off with Cross Poison, winning us our 3rd gym badge. Upon leaving Hearthome City, Barry challenges us to a battle, but with his sorry excuse for a team, Undine can completely wipe out his whole squad besides for the Prinplup, which is eviscerated by Electro Balls from Raiju. Our next destination is the Pokemon Mansion, as we have been told that someone is causing a ruckus. Turns out the culprits are Team Galactic and Commander Saturn, who forces us into a double battle, which is dealt with very easily as we just put the Bronzong to sleep and then focus down the left side. After the left side is eradicated, we turn our attention to Saturn's team, which is also taken down swiftly with help from Barry's Snorlax. After clearing the mansion, we are gifted a Manaphy egg, which we then hatch and name Lympha. Though I chose to set a rule of no mythical or legendary Pokemon until the Elite Four. Moving onward, we have our coughing encounter decide that it would rather die than join the team, and while exploring the Lost Tower, we witness a Lampent murder an innocent woman. After arriving in Celestion Town, we swiftly head towards the ruins where we are jumped by Elite Four member Lucian. And I'm not gonna lie, I was not ready to fight, so I said no thinking it would let me come back, but that was not the case. So from here on, any Elite Four member I find, I will fight. Following on from there, Valkyrie evolves all the way into a Tinkaton, and we arrive in Veilstone City to take on Maylene. All of Maylene's possible teams are pretty balanced compared to mine, so it doesn't matter which one is picked. The leading Pokemon is Poliwrath against Baliang, which is a safe lead as we can just put it to sleep with Hypnosis and put it 6 feet under with 2 dual wing beats. The Primeape is out next, and it is a 50-50 chance for it to use Thunder Punch or Ice Punch, so I pivot to Raiju hoping to take a Thunder Punch, but that wasn't the case. But Undine is able to come in on the close combat and proceeds to pummel it with a Play Rough. With the Toxicroak coming in, Baliang returns to the field to destroy it with 1 dual wing beat. To combat the incoming Medicham, I pivot to Valkyrie, then into Banshee on the high jump kick, and do this until it takes itself out. Ledian is massively buffed in this game, but is still not much of a threat as Baliang eradicates the bug with a quad effective dual wing beat, leaving just the ace Lucario. At this point, there was no way to safely take it out, and I could risk going for Hypnosis with Crobat, but I chose to avoid that and send Raiju to the gods, letting Banshee get revenge with a Shadow Ball, earning us our 4th gym badge. After beating Maylene, we have a few evolutions with Mavka evolving into a Bronzong, Siren into a Lantern, and Linverm into a Sceptile, which is now Grass Dragon type. Before leaving Veilstone City, we have a fight against Elite Four member Bertha, who leads with her Hippowdon, and due to his oversized nature, 1 Grass Knot from Linverm is enough to topple the Sand Hippo. With the Nidoking coming in, I switch Mavka in and unluckily miss the roll to KO with Psychic, so Baliang comes in to finish it off. The Marowak is next, which is a lot scarier than you would think, as it holds a thick club and has the ability Technician, but I can put it to sleep to get Linverm in, who can obliterate it with an Energy Ball. The following Quagsire isn't around for long either, as it is also blasted away with 1 Energy Ball. The Gliscor is brought in next, so we are forced to switch and bring Undine in to hit a heavy Aqua Tail before also being forced out, and with Baliang coming in, it switches itself out with U-turn to bring in Rhyperior. I switch through Bunyip to set up a Yawn, which puts it to sleep, allowing Linverm to come in freely and destroy it with a Grass Knot, leaving just the injured Gliscor, which is also finished off with an Energy Ball, ending the battle against Bertha. Continuing on our journey, we arrive in Pastoria City, where we pick up Selkie the Lapras, evolve Bulgasari into a Golem, and find the Heartscale trader who trades ability capsules, bottle caps, and nature mints for Heartscales, which will be very important. Our next obstacle is Barry, just outside of the gym, leading with a Smoogle, which is put down easily with 2 cross poisons from Baliang. His Volbeat comes in, which is now Bug Electric, so we bring Bulgasari in to squash the insect with Rock Slides. With Bulgasari now on 1 HP, when the Staraptor comes in, he must switch out for Siren, who can shoot the bird out of the sky with Thunderbolt. This leads to Nidoking entering, so I pivot to Baliang on the Earth Power to put him to sleep with Hypnosis before taking it out with 2 more dual wing beats. He brings in his Fire Fairy Ninetales, which suffers a devastating defeat to a cross poison. Barry is now left with just his Empoleon, and Siren can enter safely as it tanks any move Empoleon uses, and then is able to take the Metallic Penguin down with Thunderbolts, beating Barry once again. We can now head straight into the gym to take on Crusher Wake, and all of his teams are very dangerous as this gym has permanent rain setup. Wake leads with a Lumineon against Linverm, and in this mod, most Pokemon can learn the weather setup moves, so the Lumineon lands a Hurricane using up my Focus Sash, which allows me to set up a Sunny Day, which also now lets me outspeed and knock it out with an Energy Ball. The following Seaking falls in this same way as its predecessor. When the Ludicolo comes in, I must switch, and I have a Lapse in Judgment, bringing Baliang in on an Ice Punch, but luckily it doesn't kill, so we proceed to knock it out with a Cross Poison. The rain returns as Gorbis comes in, so I must bring Undine in to put it to sleep with Sing, letting me bring Anubis in to set up another sunny day before finishing it off with 2 Aura Spheres. The Tentacrawl is next, and I can get 1 Thunder Punch in before having to pivot into Mavka where I can put it to sleep with Hypnosis, letting me set up a Trick Room, and after hitting 1 Psychic it wakes up, and with the Floatzel still on the back, I make the tough decision to let Mavka hit 1 more Psychic before laying him to rest. This lets me bring Siren in to get revenge with 1 Thunderbolt. All that's left is the Floatzel, which is actually obliterated by 1 Thunderbolt, ending the battle and giving us our 5th gym badge. After witnessing the usual Team Galactic acts of domestic terrorism, we meet Cynthia on the Battle Lakefront, giving us a special medicine to clear the Psyducks on Route 210, which gives us access to the northern section of the route where we meet and defeat Dawn before arriving in Celestic Town. In the Celestic ruins, we come face to face with Cyrus in battle for the first time. He leads with a Crobat, so I chose to start with Siren, who can zap the bat out of the sky with 2 Thunderbolts. After hitting the incoming Arcanine with a heavy Bubble Beam, Baliang can enter to put the dog down with a Cross Poison. Anubis can deal with the next Magnezone with 2 Aura Spheres. Cyrus then sends in his Chatot next, so I pivot to Lapras, and after taking 2 Hyper Voices can take it down with 1 Avalanche. The following Honchkrow is walled by Valkyrie, who after a Fake Out can finish off the bird with a Gigaton Hammer. His remaining Pokemon is Weavile, which is dealt with easily by Undine using Playrough, and Aquatail defeating Cyrus. At this point, our next stop would be Canalave City, but beforehand we are forced to journey down to Renegade Park, and on the way we pick up Luska, the Galarian Quillfish in the Great Marsh, and Luan, the Wingull on Route 220. After meeting Caitlin and beating her servant Castle Valet Darash, we can get back on track and arrive in Canalave City. Before being able to take on the Canalave Gym, we have to explore Iron Island, where Luska evolves into an Overquill, and we meet Riley, who challenges us to a battle, who is relatively easy as we steamroll through his whole team, hardly letting him fight back. On our way through Iron Island, we catch Hephaestus the Lairon, then evolve it into an Aggron, and evolve Aquapara into a Torterra before heading back to Canalave City to take on the gym. Byron leads with a Skarmory, and my leading Pokemon is Hephaestus, so my plan for this fight was just to lead with Aggron and set up iron defenses and autotomize to sweep through his first 4 Pokemon. For the incoming Wormadam, we have no way of effectively damaging it, so I have to pivot to Amarok to melt the trash bug with Flame Wheel. This leaves Byron with just his Ace Bastiodon, and after pivoting through a few members, Siren can enter and cripple its special attack stat with 3 Eerie Impulses, allowing Aquapara to take the Bastiodon down with 2 Earthquakes, earning us our 6th gym badge. After clearing out both Team Galactic commanders Saturn and Mars at their respective legs, we can make our way up north through Mount Coronet to Route 217, where we catch Wendigo the Piloswine. Upon arriving near Snowpoint City, we start feeling numerous tremors, which we learn is coming from the Snowpoint Temple, but to enter we must take on an Ace Trainer double battle. The 2 leading Pokemon are Blissey and Heracross, so I choose to lead Baliang and Freya as my starters. Instantly using Dual Wing Beat into the Heracross, getting an easy one-shot, and High Jump Kick also takes out the Blissey in 1 hit. Now faced with both Typhlosion and Meganium, Freya is switched out for Banshee as Baliang puts the Typhlosion to sleep. With a Reflect Up, Baliang does just under half to the Typhlosion with Cross Poison, as Banshee can destroy the Meganium with a Sludge Bomb. As the Feraligatr comes in, Banshee switches out for Anubis as Baliang hits the Typhlosion with a Cross Poison, living on 1 HP as Feraligatr sets up an Agility. Then at the end of the turn, the Typhlosion is finished off by Hail Damage, causing the Tyranitar to come out. After Anubis lives an Aquatail on 3 HP, Baliang can put the Feraligatr to sleep, letting Anubis obliterate the Tyranitar with Aura Sphere, and since the Feraligatr can't wake up, we can take it down with 1 last Aura Sphere from Anubis, granting us access to the Snowpoint Temple. After picking up an Alolan Ninetales called Morana and making our way through the numerous lackluster ice puzzles, we arrive at the bottom floor where we learn that Regigigas is the one causing the surrounding tremors, and after helping Maylene and Candace calm it down, we can take on the gym. And Ice is a pretty weak type, so this is probably gonna be fine, right? Well, wrong. Candace's teams are a bloody nightmare, and just like the water gym, this gym has permanent hail to boost her ice types, so this could be really scary. Leading with her Delibird, and even though it sets up an Aurora Veil, I have to take it out with Rock Climb as 2 hurricanes would destroy me. We can't one-shot the incoming Abomasnow with Flamethrower because of the Aurora Veil and his Ockerberry, so I aim to stall out the Aurora Veil, letting me do enough damage to incinerate the Snowman. Amarok is fast enough to outspeed the incoming Glaceon thanks to the Tailwind set up by Luan and one-shot with another Flamethrower, but as the Jinx comes in, we have to pivot into Luska, who can live a Freeze Dry to put it down with a Night Slash. The speedy Weavile is in, but it locks itself into Ice Shard because of its Choice Band, letting Valkyrie flatten it with 1 Gigaton Hammer, leaving her with the cracked out Focus Sash Frostlass. Since it doesn't see a kill, it will always go for Will-O-Wisp, but it doesn't matter as Valkyrie is equipped with a Raspberry, so we can attack with a Play Rough, which misses. This is a bit of a problem as Freya and Anubis are the only ones healthy enough to take a hit, so I will be risking the life of one of them to take it out, and since Freya doesn't really have a role after this gym, she is the one I choose. Getting burnt by the guaranteed Will-O-Wisp on entry means we have to get some chip damage with Fake Out before praying for a high roll I jump kick, which we get, putting an end to this freakish battle and earning us our penultimate gym badge. The next section of Luminescent Platinum is almost identical to the original as we storm the Galactic HQ in Veilstone City, give Cyrus a second beating, ultimately freeing the 3 lake spirits before making our way through Mount Coronet heading towards the summit, but it's only when we reach Spear Pillar that we truly realize the severity of our situation, as we once again prepare to take on Mars, but this time partnered with Jupiter, but thankfully Barry shows up to make this a 2-on-2 double battle. This is not a normal battle, as both commanders have 6 Pokemon each, turning this into a 12-on-12, but I came prepared with a strong plan. Since Jupiter leads with a Sableye, which can't really do much damage, my aim is to take down Mars's team before Sableye leaves the field. Barry's Driftblim murders the Crobat on the second turn with a Hurricane, causing me to deal damage to Sableye, already putting my plan in jeopardy. After dealing enormous damage to the incoming Yanmega with Thunderbolt, Balayang can switch in as Barry finishes it off with a Blaze Kick. As the Electivire enters, I pivot to Wendigo, who after being burned by Will-O-Wisp takes the Electivire out with an Earthquake. For the Kangaskhan that is next, Anubis is able to wipe it out with just 1 Aura Sphere, but on the turn that the Bronzong comes in, this Sableye is finally taken out by Barry, as Anubis lands a critical hit Aura Sphere on the Bronzong, putting it into the red. Jupiter's brings in her Tangrowth with Focus Blast, which forces me to bring Amarok in, and on the same turn Barry's Meganium finishes off the Bronzong. Amarok then burns the entanglement of vines to death with a Flamethrower, causing the Gengar to be brought out, and on the next turn he can cook the Perugly with a Flamethrower too, finishing off Mars's team, and with it now being a 2-on-1, we can safely wipe out the rest of Jupiter's team with help from Barry, ending this frightening battle. As chaotic as that fight was, it is not the end, as we now have to deal with Cyrus. Since this mod follows the story of Platinum instead of Diamond and Pearl, we are gifted with a cool new cutscene featuring both Dialga and Palkia before the gates of hell, or should I say goo, open up, revealing this goopy, shadowy Giratina. After Cyrus is dragged into hell, we follow soon after, before being confronted with this monstrous double battle. Thankfully, it's not as scary as it looks for us, as after putting the Palkia to sleep with Hypnosis, Anubis can obliterate the Dialga with 1 Aura Sphere, and after switching to Undine, we can end the Palkia with a Play Rough. It doesn't end here, as we are then thrust straight into another battle against Cyrus with his normal team. His leading Pokemon Gyarados is put to sleep with Hypnosis and wiped out with 2 cross poisons from Balayang. We can counter his incoming Magnezone with Anubis taking it out with Aura Sphere, and Undine is able to put the following Charizard down with 2 liquidations. His next Pokemon Absol can't outspeed Amarok, so the power of 2 Flamethrowers is enough to rip through the Dark Feline. His buffed up Honchkrow isn't beefy enough to take on Siren, as 1 Thunderbolt is more than enough to clip its wings, leaving him with his final Pokemon Weavile. And after hitting it with 2 Thunderbolts, Wendigo can finish it off with an Earthquake, putting an end to Cyrus's schemes. After Cyrus disappears, we have to square up with the giant shadowed Giratina. and it's level 100. Luckily, the AI for it is trash, so Balayang can deal some damage before Undine can ultimately finish it off with Play Rough. With the traumatizing Dragonic Beast taken down, we are teleported to the Send-Off Springs, ready to start the next chapter of our story. With Team Galactic taken care of, we can now turn our attention to obtaining our final badge as well as the Elite Four, so we can now make the journey west through the newly accessible Route 222. However, as we approach Sunny Shore City, we are confronted by Elite Four member Flint. His lead Pokemon is Camerupt, which has Drought, instantly setting up the sunny weather, so after putting it to sleep with Hypnosis and doing some damage with Dual Wing Beat, Flint decides to switch out into Magcargo, which is fine by me as Anubis can blast the Magma Slug away with an Aura Sphere. The Camerupt returns, setting up the sun once again, but its health is low enough for an Aura Sphere to take it out as well. Next we are met with his Flareon, so I pivot to Amarok, lowering its attack on entry and surviving a Flare Blitz before knocking it out with 2 Rock Climbs. The incoming Infernape is always going for close combat in this situation, so I pivot to Balayang to take the hit before using Siren to drown the monkey with a Hydro Pump. With the following Houndoom threatening to kill, we have Balayang put the Hound down with a Cross Poison. This leaves Flint with just his Magmortar, so after he goes to sleep, 1 Liquidation is enough to wipe it out, defeating Flint. Now we have arrived in Sunny Shore City, home of the final gym. Volkner uses electric types like usual, but an interesting change is that this fight is now a double battle. While this does add a refreshing spin on the normal gym fight, it does make this battle a little easier, as with access to Earthquake means we can take out both the leading Plusle and Jolteon simultaneously. Volkner's next 2 Pokemon are Luxray and Rotom Heat, so I make a double pivot to Siren and Amarok as the Luxray protects and the Rotom uses Overheat, significantly lowering its special attack. Siren, now with Volt Absorb, cancels out the Luxray's Wild Charge, then after doing some chip damage with Dazzling Gleam, Amarok's Dig can finish off the Luxray next turn, followed by Siren washing away the possessed oven with a Hydro Pump. His final 2 Pokemon are Electivire and Magnezone, and after 2 digs, the Electivire is knocked out, leaving just the Magnezone alone to take the full force of Anubis' Aura Sphere, finishing the battle off. With our 8th gym badge secured, we can now set our sights on Victory Road and ultimately the Pokemon League. But before that, there are just a few more obstacles in our way. After teaming up with Marley and heading through the lower floor of Victory Road, before gradually clearing our way through Route 224, and once we reach the end of the route, we meet Dawn for the last time. Immediately she challenges us to a fight, but with her team pretty well figured out, we wipe through her team, one-shotting each member besides for Vaporeon going down in 2 hits. Although the fight might not have been the hardest, I think it's nice that they give even the minor rival a chance to shine. We can now backtrack through Victory Road, heading through the main exit. Once outside, we receive one final visit from the pygmy flowered hedgehog, who hands us the Gracidea flower before dashing back into the cave. And after beating up our rival Barry for one last time, we had finally arrived at our hardest and final hurdle, the Pokemon League. After some final adjustments, I had assembled our final squad, consisting of Undine, the Azumarill, Balayang, the Crobat, Hephaestus, the Aggron, Nue, the Umbreon, Siren, the Lantern, and Amarok, the Arcanine. These were the 6 members that would either take us to the Sinnoh Champion or die trying. Let's do this. Hi Aaron, remember me? Oh, I guess not. Clearly, he sees us as nothing more than insects, so let's squash those thoughts. Aaron leads with his Fortress as I lead with Crobat. I pivot straight to Amarok to burn the metallic bagworm to ashes with flamethrowers. His next freakish creature is Flygon, which is now a bug type, making it a whole lot weaker as Balayang returns to take the dragon out with a dual wing beat. Balayang proceeds to sweep through the following Ledian, Beautifly, and Beedrill with dual wing beats, leaving just Aaron's Drapion. Hephaestus can take 2 throat chops to hit a powerful earthquake, knocking the Scorpion out, putting a swift end to the first Elite Four member. Hope you now remember me till your death, Aaron. We head straight into the next room to take on the next member, Bertha, and her ground types. She leads with Nidoqueen as I lead with Crobat like usual. I put her to sleep with Hypnosis and set up a Rain Dance, which ends up backfiring as Bertha pivots to Quagsire as I switch to Undine. Undine, but ultimately it doesn't matter as she just switches back to Nidoqueen, so I'm then able to finally take it out with an Earthquake from Hephaestus. Bertha then sends out her Mamoswine. I then pivot to Baliang, causing her to be locked into Earthquake because of the Choice Band, so she ends up switching to Dugtrio, which suffers a crushing defeat to a dual Wing Beat. The Mamoswine returns to the field, so I pivot to Amarok, preparing for an Ice move, but I almost end up losing him to a Stone Edge. But on a brighter note, since it's locked into Stone Edge, we can safely use Hephaestus to deal some damage with Iron Heads before she switches out again into Quagsire. After putting it to sleep with Balagang, we can get Nue in to poison it with Toxic. After its health is low enough, we can finish it off with a Foul Play. Next, we see the return of the Mammoth once again, but switches again shortly after when facing Balagang, making her bring in Rhyperior. But knowing that it would switch, I used Rain Dance, giving Undine enough strength to murder the walking boulder with a liquidation. The following Donphan is slumped by a Hydro Pump from Siren, and the Mamoswine is finally finished off by a dual Wing Beat from Balaang beating Bertha. With the ground types buried, next up is Flint. Unlike Bertha, we are a bit more prepared for this one, putting his leading Torkoal to sleep and using Rain Dance to eradicate the drought. Siren can come in safely to take the Torkoal out, as well as the following Magcargo. The Ninetales comes out to set the sun back up, so Balaang must return to set the rain up once more, before knocking out the Fox with one cross poison. With the benefits of the rain, the following Blaziken and Rapidash both fall to Scalds from Siren as well, leaving Flint with just his Magmortar, which with the combined efforts of Siren and Undine is washed away safely. Take that, Flint, not very fired up now, huh? Last of the four members is Lucian, the only one I haven't fought yet throughout the run. He leads with a Xatu as I led with Siren. After setting up a light screen, the odd looking bird U-turns out for his Girafarig as I use Eerie Impulse, which is bad as it activates Contrary, giving the freaky giraffe-like creature a massive boost in special attack. But thankfully it gets locked into Psycho Boost as I switch to Nue, causing it to switch out, forcing the Xatu into a head-on collision with Nue's Foul Play. The Girafarig then gets locked into Dazzling Gleam, making for an easy takedown with Cross Poison from Balaang. I put the following Slowking to sleep with Hypnosis, and it stays asleep long enough for Balaang to finish off with Cross Poison. The incoming Solrock lands two heavy Stone Edges on Nue after entering, then Nue can obliterate the floating Sunstone with one Foul Play. After setting up two Iron Defenses with Hephaestus, we have enough defensive power to brute force our way through the Metagross with Earthquakes, and the final Pokemon Gallade falls to the collective force of Hephaestus and Balaang, giving us the win over the Psychic Master of the Elite Four, meaning that only one more battle remained. Only one more trainer standing between us and becoming the Sinnoh champion. So we step forward and confront Cynthia in one last showdown. The battle starts extremely well, with Amarok getting the chance to shine, taking out both Lucario and Glaceon with individual flamethrowers. We then hit a wall against the Gastrodon as no one can do super effective damage, so my only option is to poison with Toxic. After it loses a large chunk of health, Cynthia opts to switch into her Lopunny, and after protecting with Nue, causing her to miss a high jump kick, dealing massive damage, I pivot to Amarok to protect once more, making the Lopunny take itself out. The Gastrodon rises once more, but after a few turns, switches out again into her Togekiss, which doesn't have the capabilities to stand up to a cross poison from Balagang, putting it down swiftly. The Gastrodon returns, but this time I can successfully stall it until the poison damage can take it out. This leaves Cynthia with her final Pokemon Garchomp. After a bit of poison damage and her setting up two Dragon Dances, Nue can obliterate the Landshark with one Foul Play, giving us a dominant win over Cynthia, and with that we have finally clawed our way to the peak of Sinnoh and finally reached the end of our journey. As always, thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed, and if you want to see me take on other mods or ROM hacks, let me know in the comments below. Also, think about leaving a like and subscribe, or don't.